Here we go.
Hello.
I'm in way too much
I
of a good
know.
mood,
I know. I
and I'm
know.
annoying you. I can tell. Sometimes I am in such a good mood, and it annoys you, and I understand why.
I don't yeah, I mean, that sounds bad. I don't know if
I know,
but I think
but
it's just yeah, it's
I'm
not
extra.
I'm happy. I prefer you to be in this mood than to be in a crappy one. So
I
it's
know.
not that I'm annoyed you're
We've
in a
started
bad
some of these
mood.
podcasts where I'm like half asleep.
Mhm.
I want to
Mhm.
start off by saying it is
Yeah.
so good to see you.
I know.
And people are probably like, "What do you mean it's good to see you?" Well, we're going to get into that on today's podcast, but
Yeah.
really, we haven't done this in a little while because we both have been traveling, and I think we'll start there because
Yeah.
I think we had a very special memory that I think it's worth sharing for
Yeah.
those who are interested, and it took place at the airport. So why
Yeah.
don't you kind of break it down for everyone because
Yeah.
I thought it was a great moment that I'm going to remember forever.
Aw,
It's easy
that's
to
really
please me.
sweet. So basically, what happened was that we both traveled at the same time. And if you haven't been listening to the podcast, just quick refresher. We're in an interim space, really small, really tight. And we've been last year, we really got on each other's nerves because
Oh my God, we did.
I mean,
Yes.
that's like putting it mildly, right? But things are much better. And we put all these tools and efforts into place to make sure that we don't kill each other. But we're still in the space. And it's interesting because I think that we both always talk about how much we would appreciate just having the place to ourselves and having alone time and, just having a little bit more independence because we're always so on top of each other, blah, blah, blah. But what
Sure.
ends up happening is that whenever we're apart, the second we're apart, we're both like, "Wah, miss
I know.
you, wish you were here."
I
So it's
know. Isn't that probably common amongst most couples? I mean, it's just like you get on my nerves, and then the minute you guys people
yeah.
separate, it's just like,
Yeah, exactly.
where's my other half?
Yeah, exactly. So we both like, need to anyway, so I just thought that was funny because we were both like counting down the minutes, till we could be together. So basically what happened was I had planned for a while to go see my mom in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
She just needed help with a million things. So I took a trip there. That trip was already planned. I was leaving on a specific day. And shortly thereafter, you got a gig. For people who don't know, Rick is an executive producer. He works on a bunch of shows, and you're working on an award show. And you got this gig, and you had to go to a location scout in LA, and you left about, I don't know, not even a full week before I did. So what was going to happen is you were going to be gone for almost a week. I was going to be gone for 7 days, and we were going to have this huge stretch of time of not seeing each other, which hasn't happened in a really, really long time, right? I can't even remember the last time that we spent that much
Yeah, but
apart.
it's been a couple of years for sure.
Yeah, it's been a couple years. So what ended up happening is once your travel was booked and my travel was booked and we compared, we realized that the day I leave for Florida to see my mom is the same day you get back from
Back.
LA from your location scout. And we have this window where we could have an airport date.
Not only the same day, the same hour. Like we met
Yeah.
at the airport at the same time. I was coming in, you were leaving, same terminal in Austin.
Yeah.
There's only one terminal.
Yeah.
So we both
We
created
arranged it.
this great little lunch date. And
Yes.
coincidentally, my brother who flies for American happened to be on a route that landed in Austin the exact same time as we were
Yes.
going to be there. So we were
Yes.
trying to hook up with him. It didn't work out, but it's another
Well, you
story.
saw him later. Yeah. So
I
that
saw him
worked
later,
out. But
but it was just unique. It was like that
it
was not
was.
planned.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting. It just kind of worked out that way. And as you landed, I was checking my bag in. So the timing just really worked out. I mean, I went to the airport extra early. I found a place for us to have dinner. I wanted to have a drink before I got on the flight. And so
Had
yeah,
a few drinks before you got on the
it
flight.
was really what?
You got a little tipsy before you got on the flight. You had few
I
drinks.
think I did. And also
Good.
because I'm such a lightweight. So the
I know,
second I have a
and you
full
don't
glass
love
of wine, yeah.
and you don't love to fly, and I get that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So but even so, the second I have a full glass of wine, it's already like,
yeah.
Veronica's already feeling tipsy. So anyway, that was really fun to do. And then we went our separate ways. Getting back to my mom's trip, it also reminded me of how grateful I am to be child free and for our child free life. And we have been talking about this in with the members of our community. So we have these live meetups with our community. We actually just had one yesterday, and it was just so amazing. It's so incredible to
C-
connect
Can I
with.
be cheesy and say that it's starting to feel like family?
It
It
is
really is. I mean,
100%, a
it's a little cheesy
100%.
to say, and
It
someone might hear that
is.
and be like, "Really? How well do you know them?" But I really feel like they're extended family members. It's
They
so
are.
weird.
They
Like,
are. It's very, very
yeah,
strange. I mean, when we started this membership community, we definitely thought that we were gonna make some friends and we were gonna get connected, but not to the level that it's unfolding, not to the level of, like, you feel such a strong sense of support among these people. You feel so connected. Everyone is just so open and so
I've
kind
got
and so loving. I mean, I can talk
I've
about it forever. I know.
look, I've got goosebumps. I literally have goosebumps, and
It's
here's why.
amazing. Yeah.
Here's why.
Yeah.
And I just feel like we're going to know that, like, this could be our community when we get older. Like, I mean,
I
everyone talks
know.
about what are you going to do when you're older? I
Yeah.
know what we're going to do. The Child Free Connection is going to have
Yes.
hundreds of
Which
people
we've talked
that
about. Yeah, building
yeah,
our
that is
own.
going to
Yes.
hang out, and we're all
Yes.
going to see each other and know each other. And I just think it's fantastic. And we always talk about the importance of building community. It's really exciting for me. I hope it's really exciting for the community members to know, like, we have this family. I'm going to say it now.
Yeah,
It's a family, not
of
just a
course.
community
No, I've
of
thought that
people
for a while now.
that get to hang out. We talk to each other on the side. It's not just always during our meetups. You can DM and all this stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just really excited
absolutely,
about it.
yeah. I mean, it was just such a mushy, wonderful
But back to your
call.
mom. I
And,
interrupted. Go ahead.
yeah, so the reason this up is because we were also talking about it in our call because there's a few members of our community that are going through very similar situations that I'm going through with my mom, and that is some of the listeners, or if you're watching, maybe a bit too young, but if you have parents in your life, as they get older, they need a lot of support, a lot of care. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's support, maybe you need to physically be there. There's just so many different things that come up. That's a space where I am with my mom. She needs a lot of support. And as you know, I support her virtually every day. We were just talking about how I was able to pick up and go to Florida. I was able to work from there and just be able to help her, be able to support her, and be there for her. And the other members of our community were saying the same thing because their parents are also not living in the same state they're in. So they're just either hopping on a train or a plane or driving somewhere and really just putting their lives on hold to assist. It's something that it's really different if you have children, right? So let me be clear because I posted about this last week and a bunch of parents came in and got offended that they helped us parents just as much. What I am saying is that I personally, let's say, for example, am very grateful that we don't have children right now that would really prohibit me to do the things that I can do for my mom, right?
Yeah,
She
that's a
would be
great point.
having a different experience if I wasn't able to support her the way that I am, right?
It's
Not saying
amazing.
one is
Yeah.
better than the other, not saying if we had kids, blah, 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 like you just reminded
I'm not
me,
even
we're
thinking
not
about
talking
that.
about it, but it's about having this space for them and knowing that it is many times going to get difficult, right? Depending on how their health is doing, their mental health, their physical health. And that is something that I took back from Florida that just got sealed into my head even more.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a great point about that, and I just realized that that's a great argument you can make if you
Mhm.
have parents that you're not going to give me any grandchildren. You're like, I'm not, but guess what? I'm going to have extra time to take care of you.
Yeah.
So maybe you can bring
Mhm.
down the pressing me to have kids because I'll be more available to you.
1,000%. And
Yeah,
that's why, because I did a reel on exactly that. I think it was last week or the
yeah.
week before. And that's what got the comments in from people saying, like, I help my parents too, and we have kids, blah, 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 blah. That was my takeaway for my trip. And I'm just really grateful that I'm able to do something like that, especially we just talked about this morning. I may have to just get up and go at any point,
Yeah.
and I'm able to do that, and also not leave you with any sort of, I mean, you already have to take care of Eddie, right? Because when one of us isn't around, we have to
Our
do
dog Eddie,
all the
yes.
walking and all the feeding and all of that.
I just want to interject one plain thing,
Yeah,
that I got made an observation.
yeah.
So, first of all, when you're at the gate, do you scan the gate area to see who's going to be boarding your plane? Do you do a
Sure.
full scan? I do a
Yeah.
full scan.
Yeah.
And usually, and maybe it's just me, sorry, hit the mic. Maybe it's just me,
Mhm.
but I usually don't see children until I get on the plane. And then they just pop up like whack-a-mole. They just are like, boom, they're like right behind me or they're right in
Right.
front of me.
Well, they do get to board first, so maybe
Yeah.
you're just missing them or something.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
watch people boarding early,
Yeah.
veterans and if folks that need some assistance or so on and so forth, and I never see them. I don't know, and maybe I block them out. But it was interesting because I did board, and right behind me was a youngster. They were probably, I want to say, did I say youngster? What am I, 900 years old? It was because I didn't know it was between a baby and a between a baby
Toddler?
and a toddler. I didn't know what's that called. A youngster. That's so weird. I don't think I've ever used that word. Anyway, I turn around and I'm not going to get in. The baby did cry the whole flight. Kind of
I mean, it happens,
it
yeah.
happens.
It happened to me
And you know
too.
what? By the way,
Mhm.
it doesn't bother me as much these days because I put on the noise canceling
Yeah,
headphones and I just tune it out.
right.
And but I did turn around a couple times and I noticed that the mom was holding the baby underneath the arms, kind of like this. On YouTube, you'll see me, but
Mm.
basically underneath the arms, close to her chest, and his torso was hanging. And it wasn't like his feet were on the seat. It was like, and there
His
was no
feet
like,
were hanging, not his torso was
well, his
hanging.
torso and his feet, like his
Okay,
body was
right.
hanging, but they weren't touching the seat or her legs. So she was just kind of
Mhm.
holding the baby, like in the
Okay.
most uncomfortable position, by the way.
Mhm.
And then I looked, and there was other people sitting in that row.
Okay.
So, safety thing, do babies not have to wear seatbelts like on takeoff? Because I'm like wondering unless maybe this baby was behind or something like that with the
Are you
husband.
100% sure that there was people in the 2 seats next to her, or you just
Yeah,
didn't?
yeah, no, 100% sure. So
Hmm.
I know some babies get to fly free to a certain degree, and sometimes you have to hold the baby. But I was like, "Where's the seat?" So I don't know. Again, we
Yeah.
wouldn't know this, but do you have to buy a seat for a baby? I'm asking those who may
You're
know
asking the
this.
wrong person because I
I'm
have
asking the wrong audience,
no.
but I'm asking the wrong audience. But I
You know
think the
what? Let
point.
us know. Just let us, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments,
But
like,
someone might
if
have a
you
niece
have
or nephew
any idea how this works, like how old the baby is
because
until,
the
yeah,
baby was held the whole flight by this woman,
right.
just holding it, and
Well,
I
yeah,
could
I
tell.
guess if they don't have a seat, you have to hold it.
Yeah.
You can't let it roam.
But they have to wear seat belts. They
I don't
need to,
know.
and
Yeah.
they weren't strapped in. I thought it was one of those, what are those things called where the babies are on the front?
Again, asking the wrong person.
It was like called like a thing. Oh gosh, I
I have
forgot.
no idea.
Everyone's screaming this who's listening because it's a very common name. Most
I
people know.
doubt it. I'm gonna say
Maybe
I'm
not.
gonna challenge you
All
on
right.
that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Again,
god,
I'm
no.
forgetting who we're
Oh,
talking to.
Bjorn. It used to be like a baby Bjorn,
Bjorn.
but I think
Baby
that's the
Bjorn. That's
brand.
it. That's it.
I think
That's
that's the
it.
brand, and that could have been from 20 years ago, and they don't
Oh,
exist
okay.
anymore. Who knows?
Anyway, I
Yeah,
just found that traveling experience. I'm very observant now when it comes to,
yeah,
the whole like kids on planes and stuff and how that works. Like,
yeah.
also, we were talking with our community yesterday, you know, when kids sit in first class, does that annoy you? Like, do you feel like first class is adult only? I feel like that should be a thing. Plus, they're taking up someone's upgrade, possibly. Not that I get upgraded, but like some people do. I don't know.
Right,
Lots
right.
to discuss on that, but that's not today's topic.
No.
You know today's topic, and I'd
Yes.
like for you to bring it up because I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yeah, we were talking about the other day, and these come up all the time, all the different assumptions that people make about child-free people. So we're just going to go over them because some of them are just so ridiculous. Some of them are just, we're tired of hearing them. So we just want to bring them to the forefront and just talk about them and how they came to me, and then just kind of
Assumptions.
kind of knock them over, sort of like, with a bat.
Wow, getting aggressive. I like it. So wait,
Just
so
so annoying, right?
yeah,
It's so
assumptions
annoying.
are assumptions,
Annoying.
right? I
Yes.
mean, you can make assumptions about anyone, and it's
They do
I'll admit
nothing.
I've been guilty of it, but I'm starting to learn in my older age
Yeah.
that it's just pointless and it's a
Yeah.
waste of time, brain energy, and everyone else's time that's listening to it.
They
So
do nothing, and also it makes the receiver feel crappy about themselves sometimes for no reason. It's just a big mess when people bring assumptions into the arena, and I feel like not I feel like, I mean, it's just a fact because we get comments all the time and we get DMs, all these assumptions that people make about us, about Childfree people in general. So we're definitely gonna go over those
yeah, I want to.
and I wanna hear what our, listeners have to say about
I was
them.
going to say I want to do a quick call out
Yeah.
and say that if we didn't cover your assumptions, what are some of the assumptions that you feel you get?
Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of that word call out, we were talking about this yesterday. So I've been not in the corporate world for over 4 years, and I'm working with a corporate broadcasting network. So I'm on a lot of corporate calls.
Yeah.
And I know there's was some jokes made about this during COVID, because husbands and wives were working from home, or partners were working from home, I should
Yeah.
say,
Corporate
A-
speak.
and corporate speak was now in the household. And one of the classic ones was a woman said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm married to the circle back guy."
Right.
It's when people say circle back on the call.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to do that again because I was guilty of that. Everyone is. You just get into it,
You
of
just
just
get sucked
vernacular.
into it.
You get
Yeah.
sucked into it. I'm sucked back into it because now I'm on these corporate calls and I'm just like, and one of the ones I hear now, which is a new one, is like, thanks for that call out. That really helped when there's like a problem and someone brings attention to it. They
Right.
call it a
I
call
mean,
out.
it's new to you and might be
Oh, I'm
around
sure.
forever. Yeah.
I listen. I've
Yeah.
been out of the loop
Yeah.
for a long.
Yeah.
There's another one. Look at it, just coming out of my mouth. I can't help it. I don't know if out of the loop's a bit of a stretch, but there's
Yeah.
just like circle back, call outs.
Yeah.
Let's put a pin in that. Let's revisit.
Yes. Pin
Like,
me. Yeah, all this
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
It's
It's just like we may. I was. It was. I got to get it out of my head because I'm bringing it into my social speak. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
I'll,
Well, once you're done with this project and you wrap it up, then hopefully you'll start to slowly talk like a human being again. But I don't blame you. I've done it myself. I mean, we
we
worked
all do.
together back in the day, and you're sitting in a conference room around the stupid oval table, and everyone just starts speaking that way. And I think that there's just not even an awareness of it. You just start to do it
Yeah.
immediately.
One I've
Um,
been doing that I'm
yeah,
embarrassed to say that I
yeah.
feel like I had to stop because I think like some people were going to eventually be like, oh, he's that guy. I was saying button up a lot. I was saying like, okay, I just want to make sure this gets done. So we're all buttoned up for the production. And then I said it over and over and I'm like, I'm the buttoned up guy. I'm like, who wants to be that guy? So I was like, okay, I'm not using buttoned up anymore, but it kind of comes out like, I just want to make sure we're all buttoned up.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God. All right.
I
Sorry.
know.
I had a little side note on that
No,
one.
no, I understand.
Let's get back to assumptions. I'm very excited about this topic. Assumptions. We deal with them a lot. Why don't we created a top 5 list, I believe. Did you create 5?
Yes.
So
I
let's
think there's
go
4 or
through
5,
them.
so we're gonna go with it.
Let's
Yeah.
go through them and see who relates between two of us, and
Right.
maybe if for those who relate, who was watching this on YouTube or want to comment, that would be great. But let's go to number 1. I'm very curious what's at the top of the list, and these are in no particular order, obviously.
Yeah. Correct. You sounded very game showy.
We're not doing like top 10 or top 5. Top 5 assumptions for child-free people. Coming in at number 5. That's my radio voice. Oh my God. You know what's funny? I was talking to my brother
Well,
about
there's
radio
like
voices.
no radio voice anymore, right? People don't even
Yeah, there's
know.
no radio voices,
I mean, I
but
guess there are radio DJs still around,
no,
but
but it's
I
weird.
don't
There's
know.
been radio voices through the decades. And you remember like in the 20s or maybe even earlier, they say,
Yeah.
that's what you do. See, you're going to do.
Yeah.
See, that whole thing.
Yeah.
I was like, did people really talk like that? I did some digging. They don't. That was like their broadcast voice. So
Oh,
when you hear like
yeah.
those TV shows, it was like, that's what I'm talking about. See, you got to do this. See,
Yeah,
it was like
right.
this whole thing. And then it got into like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was like, hi, everybody, welcome to the show. And it was just like this whole thing. And now we've come full back circle. Like,
To, like,
how
be
about
your
we
actually,
we just be ourselves?
let's try that.
Let's not put on a. I mean, I guess you could make an argument that when you watch CNN, there's still that whole like, welcome to the show, and we're going to cover some stuff. Like, there's still that cadence. when it
Right.
comes to
Oh, yeah, with any
news
newscast
programming.
for programming,
Yeah.
yeah, you could be watching anything, and then there is that kid, and especially if we watch a lot of Dateline and 2020, and
Yeah.
they all have, like, a
Yeah,
very
I love that
specific
guy Pete
cadence.
Morrison. He's just like, "Remember that little old lady down the street? Well, she wasn't home at all. It turns out she was in the house that night." It's the
I love
best.
that guy.
I love that guy. All right, we're just going off on tangents today. All right, back
So
to assumptions.
so the first assumption is that child-free people hate children, and that is one that I don't even know what we need to do at this point to drill it into people's heads. And by the way, side note, some people don't like children, and that's completely fine. And
That's okay.
some parents don't like children. And we've talked about this
That's
before,
okay
how
too.
parents will admit they don't even like any other
Yeah,
kids besides their own. So everybody can have their own opinion on that. But what I'm talking about is the umbrella assumption that we all hate kids. We don't want them in existence. We don't want them around. We can't stand them.
yeah,
So that perception is really hard to shift because, like I said, no matter what we say, people will still call us child haters, baby haters. So, whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about
yeah.
that?
I mean, I think sometimes it's not directly people coming out and say they hate children. Some people do, and like you said, that's okay. But I think it's some of the context of the what we put out on Instagram, where it's just like, and I think they draw conclusions. Like if we're doing a we're living our best life type of vibe on Instagram, I could see how someone's like, "Oh, you must hate kids because you couldn't do that if you had
Right,
kids."
but that makes an assumption because it's
That
incorrect.
no, that's exactly right. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why I bring
yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, we personally love kids. I've got nieces and nephews that I absolutely adore, and that's the great thing too.
Same.
Also about this life, yeah. So and you do too. We get to live vicariously through them. We get to be part-time parents sometimes when we go to visit them, and it's like you get like that dose, but you can give them back, which
Right.
is
Which is our
ultimately.
favorite.
So I kind of think it falls under the expression "you have your cake and eat it too" situation,
Yeah.
which is nice. We get the best of both worlds. What a great decision we made. I'm so happy. All right, assumption number 2.
Jeez. Okay. We're moving right along.
Sorry, I like to keep things moving. I feel like everyone. I
No,
mean,
no, no,
do you
no,
have
no.
some to add to that? I'm just
No, no,
joking.
no, no. It's fine. It's totally fine. But
Okay.
I am interested to hear from people to see if they get this assumption a lot that they hate children, don't like children, blah 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 blah. And this is just okay, one thing I want to add because my family
Yeah.
always just say that, well, you hate kids. Well, you hate kids.
Oh, they do. They say that.
No, I don't hate kids, but I do hate if a kid is screaming at the top of their lungs for 45 minutes.
And
And
guess
I
what?
mean,
So do parents.
or so does anybody. Like it's just doesn't, I am going to wince if somebody just will not stop crying, a 3-year-old or screaming or throwing things. Like not my favorite. Not my
Yeah,
favorite. So anyway,
especially if it's a big floaty alligator or an alligator toy and you get it hit in the head with it. Remember when that happened in
yeah,
the
I mean,
pool?
I've gotten hit in the head a few times. So by kids. So yeah. So not my favorite at all, but it doesn't mean I hate them. So yeah, I mean, we can go right to number 2, but I thought that that is a big one, and I think that assumption just generally spreads out throughout. So I'm interested to see what
Yeah.
people have to say. Assumption number 2 is that child-free people have no sense of responsibility, or they lack maturity, which is around the same realm. And
Can I weigh in on that first of all?
yeah,
I you know, I actually think that one is so funny because it's the exact opposite. Because we have so much time to focus on ourselves and we become more self-aware because we're alone a lot of the times, really focusing on it. I think we become more mature and we become more self-aware and more what was mature and what was the other thing?
that we lack responsibility.
And we lack I feel like we're more responsible in a lot of ways. Some of us,
Yeah.
obviously, this is all,
Well, this for yourself. Yeah.
yeah. But
Mhm.
I feel more mature, more responsible,
Yeah.
more in control of my life than I ever have. And a lot of that has to do with other outside reasons, but I don't know. I definitely think that's an interesting assumption for me because it's complete opposite.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. This comes up in my program a lot because some of the women in my program have been made to feel like you're not a real adult woman until you have the responsibility of caring for another child. And the messaging is coming at you so crazy and it gets really confusing. And it's really, what's really interesting? The women who have gone through my program and have been really deeply affected by this kind of messaging from outsiders are the most incredible, amazing, smart, responsible, mature women that I have ever met. Like, it's just ironic that they're being made to believe the exact opposite of what they really are.
To my
Um,
point.
yeah, so right, exactly. So, yeah, this is just crazy, and just side note, before we get into number 3, I just wanna say because I did just finish my program, Is Child-Free for Me? The Essential Guide to Exploring a Child-Free Life. I am so excited. My graduates are awesome. And I have opened the doors to my next program. So ischildfreeforme.com. And I'm gathering all my testimonials, which are amazing. I'll be posting them on my Is Child Free for Me Instagram. But I wanted to share one, if I can,
Of
from
course.
one of the members. I actually just put it up on my computer because so she says, "This has been an incredible experience. I have learned so much. I feel like I've gained so much confidence in my decision. I've grown a lot, and I know that I am not alone. I know that there is a whole community of women who understand what I'm going through, and we can support each other, which has been absolutely amazing."
I mean,
So
sounds like a very mature person to me. I'm coming off of our number 2 assumption.
and by the way, this is a very mature woman. She's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. But I mean, it has been this it just makes me so happy. So yeah, so once again, if there's anybody out there just leaning towards child-free life or have decided to be child-free, but you can't quite get to the confident, peaceful, positive place, yeah, check out the program. It's childfreeforme.com. So
For sure. Wait, now I'll just give you the coming in at number 3. Assumption number 3.
even knows what you're doing and what you're talking about, but
All right, sorry. We'll stop it.
oh, you don't have to stop it. They might. Who knows? Okay. So number 3 assumption is that we haven't thought it through. And maybe you don't get it as much being a
Mm.
man, but it's really funny how certain people will not believe if you tell them that you're child free, if you tell them that you're child free by choice, or however you landed, right? You could still be, of course, very happy in your child free life and you just landed there in a different way. But it's people still think that you're going to change your mind, or that if the situation, maybe if you had a different partner, maybe if you weren't single, if you had a partner, like they're just believing and assuming that you must have not thought this through, because had you thought it through enough, quote unquote, like they did, then you would have kids. So that's a huge assumption in itself.
Some assumptions rhyme and ring true with
Yeah.
you. So, that one, what's interesting, I never really thought it through until recently. So, I am a late bloomer when it comes to understanding that this was a choice. And I'm happy that I was ignorant and I'm lucky that I accidentally didn't have a child.
Right.
Having said that, later when I met you and we really started talking about not having kids and what that life looks like.
I think it's just coming from a different angle, right? You're like,
Yeah.
okay, no, I
Yeah.
didn't think it through, but I didn't even realize that I needed to, because you just assumed
Right.
that you always just assume you were going to have kids.
I'm so grateful that I made the decision not to have children.
Mhm.
And my life would have been worse if I did make the decision to have kids. I'm saying that for me. That
Yeah.
is that is a fact.
Yeah, no, I know. You feel really strongly about that, and I
Yeah.
completely understand, and I mean, I also agree. I mean, I'm not gonna say it would have been worse because I don't know what it would have been like, but I know that I'm very happy with the way that it is.
Yeah,
So,
and this is coming for those who might not have heard the other podcast. This is coming from a 50-year-old man, 52-year-old man. And yeah, did I have fear of the future and all that stuff? Sure, before I educated myself, and I don't have those fears anymore.
yeah.
I know I'm going to be fine. I know everything's going to be okay with this life trajectory.
Yeah.
And I'm not only fine with it, but I'm excited about it. I'm excited about all the opportunities I'm going to have to live the life I want to live as I get older.
Yeah.
And and I'm not worrying about being elderly because AI and robotics will be taking care of us. That is a fact. I mean, that is the priority number one is the elderly when it comes to robotics and AI. So we're going to have plenty of support if they don't take over the world. That's a whole nother podcast. Sorry, going on. I went on another tangent. This is called the Tangent Podcast.
The other assumption that looms around
Coming in
is
at number 4. That's so
is
annoying. I'm gonna
that
stop. I'm sorry, everyone. I will stop.
is that all child-free people are wealthy or rich.
Oh,
And
I wish that was assumption that was true. Oh, that would be so nice.
and it's
Why couldn't
really
that assumption be true? I would be
and
proud to say it to everyone. Yeah, we're right. We are rich. Everyone's rich who doesn't have kids.
right. And it's also I think it's really important to clarify that one does not equal the other, right? Because I think that there is a sort of influencer led belief system where you don't have kids equals you are going to be rich without talking about your career choices, your investments, the way that you manage your money, the way that you will handle, God forbid something happens to you. I mean, the list is endless. So one does not equal another. Does one mean, yeah, of course, we talk about it all the time, how we don't have to worry about certain bills.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that alone is a huge financial benefit for us and for other child-free people. But the assumption that because you don't have kids, you have $10 million sitting around in the bank that you have nothing else, you don't know what to do with, is just completely false. And I mean, we know that for a fact. We're very connected to our community. We're very open about all these assumptions with the members. And we talk about all this all the time, and people have agreed that this assumption, and it doesn't really matter where you land financially, it's just a matter of, okay, you have a different set of bills, you have a different set of responsibilities. How are you going to manage them?
Yeah. And, money doesn't buy you happiness, it buys you options, right? So I feel like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's my belief when it
Yeah.
comes to it. And I think that, those options on how you spend your money are just vastly different from parents and people with that don't have kids because child free people because there is such a huge amount of money that goes into children. I mean, that's factual, right? 330,000 a year apparently is what the last reading was that
Around.
around.
Mhm.
Wait, no, that can't be right. Not a year.
No, to
330,000
raise a
to
kid up
raise a child.
until
Sorry.
yeah, which
Yeah.
I find that figure to be extremely
Low.
low,
Low.
for a number of reasons. I won't even get
Yeah.
into it now. But
Expect
for
it's
example, I'll
I mean,
just
we went to the grocery store the other day and it was $168 and we had 7 things in our cart.
I
I'm not
know.
joking, by the
No,
way.
I
I
know,
think that was wrong. I
and
think we got ripped off.
that figure is just getting by, right? You're not talking about private schools. You're not talking about Nike
Exactly.
sneakers. You're not
There's
talking about
so many.
iPads.
It does create options to spend your money more on you as opposed to another individual.
Correct. As
And
long as you
and
do it
that
wisely. Yeah.
I take that assumption, I twist it and I turn it into a perk.
There's always been this real focus on raising your children until they're 18 and, whatever money, resources, effort, energy you're pouring into them. And times have really changed. I mean, the kids are not out of the house and independent at 18. And we all know this, right? And I feel like I just see so many examples in my personal life of my friends who are parents being responsible for their older children that are young adults, whether they're in their 20s, pushing 30, people who have, I mean, we speak to older people also who have children in their 30s and they're still financially supporting them. We know people that have children in their 40s and they're still helping them out financially. We have friends who are in their 50s, early 60s, and still receiving financial assistance from their parents. So this financial tie doesn't exactly break once the child hits 18.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
So
anyway,
coming in,
so yeah.
so I'm gonna add a drum roll here instead of being cheesy. Ready?
Yeah.
And coming in at number 5. I am a nerd today. I love it though. I am a nerd, so I'm just
So
being myself.
you are,
All
you
right.
are.
What's
Uh,
the fifth assumption?
the fifth assumption is that child-free people have no stress. I love the reaction.
No, it's just can I start this one because
Sure. Wait, because of its level of ridiculousness or what?
yeah, only because I literally bathe in stress every single day and it's not pretty. I think it's my own doing, but it
Mhm.
is a total false assumption. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, I also think, you know, as human beings, whatever's happening in your life, some people like me, whether I have kids, I don't have kids, stress tends to find me and it's only because I let it find me. I understand that. I'm working on it. But that shouldn't be an assumption for no matter what your life is looks like. You know,
Right.
stress happens. It just happens differently. Sure, we don't have the stress of raising children. Totally understand that. And I
Yes.
know there's a million things that comes with having kids and stress. I get
Yes.
that. That's I'm not built for that. Therefore, that's why we're talking here and having this conversation in this place at this time. For me, every day it comes with stress, you know, whether it's health, whether it's just your day-to-day stuff, whether it's work. It's just such a false assumption in the sense that
Yeah.
people fill up their time based off what's relative to them. Some people stress, you know, I've heard of people that don't have kids that, you know, stress about that they don't have enough to do and they're just watching Netflix, and that's not healthy and that's not happy. You're not going to be happy by just sitting in front of the TV all day or doom scrolling on social media. So I really think it's important that people understand that like it's about managing the stress. And I work hard on that. It's really managing the stress, realizing that it's not that deep 99% of the time, and then mitigating that by going to the gym, you know, meditating, whatever it takes to really kind of bring down those levels of anxiety and stress and all the stuff that comes with it.
I agree. It's really insane to think that just because someone made the decision not to have children, that there's not going to be any stress in their lives. I mean, we have members of our community, like we just talked about, with parents who are sick, whether it's mentally or physically. We have people who caretake for their siblings. We have people that are have experienced injuries and haven't been able to do all the things that they want to do. I mean, it just goes on and on the list of stressors.
Yeah.
And I think that this is just another way of our prenatalist society to try, not this, just all these assumptions that we just went through, to try to put child free people in a box that we're less than. And I think ultimately that is the goal, right? Because if you put people in a box and you keep telling them that they're less than, unfortunately, many times they start to believe it and then they will take the action that you want them to take, right? So if
Yeah.
society continues to tell us we're not responsible, we're lazy, we're sitting around doing nothing, we have no stress, we are all just spoiled and wealthy and rich and all of these assumptions, and we're a bunch of baby haters. Some people may eventually not want to be labeled in that way and say, you know what, I don't want to be seen this way. So therefore, I'm going to have a child, even though that's not truly what I want for myself. But I'm just going to do it because I'm tired of feeling this messaging, this negativity towards me. So that's why we're here, because we're here to tell you the exact opposite, that
Opposite.
all
Yeah.
these assumptions are a bunch of BS.
Say
Okay.
it like you mean it. I love it.
And we're just sick and tired of it. It's just not true. None of this is true. It's to put people in a box just because they chose this path, which you and I happen to love and adore and appreciate and live to the fullest as much as we can, is just ridiculous. So that's why I wanted to bring up assumptions, because I just want to like,
There
just
you have it. When
stab them away.
Veronica gets worked up, you know it's serious. So
It's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
I know.
So yeah, so those are the assumptions that we as child-free people have to deal with. Some of us do, some of us don't, but they exist. So even if you've never had to face any of these assumptions, they're lingering around not too far away from you. Yeah, well,
And I also
yeah,
want to mention, we're new to the podcast game a little bit. So, um, feel
we are.
free, please, if you're enjoying this podcast, we would really, really appreciate a review. I don't know how that works. I'm a little podcast naive when it comes to this stuff, but I
Yeah.
hear that would really help get the message out there. And I say it not just for us. We're not
Yeah.
looking, if I mean, I love the kind messages, and sometimes I find some of the negative ones interesting. But to leave a review and comment on the podcast, it's really about y'all. It pushes our podcast up and it brings more awareness for
Yeah.
everyone to find us and to
Mhm.
help and to have these conversations. So it's really not about us, but we appreciate it. Anyway, we're figuring it out as we go here. But yeah,
Yeah, but absolutely. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get a review. Like Rick said, we're super new at this, but I think we're doing okay so far. I think
I,
that
yeah, why not? I think
I
we're
mean,
doing
I'm gonna
great.
give us a pat on the back. I mean, there's just so much to talk about. There's so much to cover. And I know that we talked about we're gonna have guests this year, which we still are. It's just a whole other thing that we're working on. We've had a lot of interest. So yeah, I think that we're just starting to, this is just blossoming. We're just figuring it out, and we're just gonna move forward.
We're just getting started.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
just getting started.
Exactly.
All right, enough of the radio voice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Yes.
It's so great to see you again. I
You
feel
too.
like
I know
even
you're
though we
leaving
live under the
me,
same roof,
but I'll
I
see
am
you
going away
soon.
for a while, but we'll be back in a couple weeks and we'll talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.